Welcome, Lights Out family, to another episode of After Dark with KK. Japan is a country etched in history and culture, and the folklore and the superstitious tales had been well documented, and the study of the yokai world been renowned. Today, KK will narrate two stories being wondrously told on the Owang's channel within the past year, which illustrate that beside the beautiful sight, sound, people, and food of Japan, there was some creepy stuff that were waiting to reveal within the woodworks. The first story was really creepy because of the way the storyteller described the various locations of Kyoto that would bring people who have visited these exact locations to start having flashes of images of the scary entities in an otherwise World Heritage locality. Let's begin. The story was provided by a Taiwanese visitor to Kyoto. I will narrate as the point of view of the storyteller. Despite traveling to Japan from Taiwan was very convenient and airfares are reasonable, it still took me and my companions a long time to save up for our boys' trip to Kyoto in 2016. The traveling party included myself, my younger brother, and our mutual friends Roy and Shan. Shan, who is around my age, belongs to one of the many Aboriginal tribes in Taiwan and is a descendant of a witch doctor and therefore possessed the ability to see things that were unseen by muggles like myself. When we arrived in Kyoto City, it was already around 9 PM and warily we checked into our ryokan located conveniently at Shijo Kawaramachi, just alongside the famous Kamo River. As we walked along the dimly lit Kamo River from the bus stop to the ryokan, Shan turned solemn and started walking briskly ahead of us, like in a rush to answer nature's call urgently. It turned out that Shan said he did not feel good looking at the river, as he could see heads bobbing up and down the water's surface. That was the beginning of his continual encounters in Kyoto. After we finally done our check-in, we were pleasantly surprised by the Japanese-style tatami room with two futons on the floor beside a sofa bed. At the rear of the sleeping quarters were the sliding door towards a narrow balcony. Just adjacent to the sofa bed was a nicely ornated Japanese wall cabinet where Shan was prompt to unpack his luggage into. Just when he opened the cabinet, he let out an audible gasp that drew our attention. "What's wrong, Shan?" I asked. But he did not reply at that instant. He just went to rummage his luggage for a blessed tribal ornament, seemingly made of wild boar's tooth, and then calmly walked back to the cabinet to cast some sort of spell. That certainly freaked me out, but luckily, Roy came near me, reassuringly whispered,
"This is typical of Shan. He must have said something and felt compelled to do some cleansing. Just let him be."
That was the first time I went on the trip with our Aboriginal friend, unlike Roy, who was closer to Shan. Therefore, his words do quell some anxiety in me. By 1+, we finally settled down to rest in preparation for our long day in a few hours' time. It wasn't too long that Shan slept out from his sleep and started holding the curtains of the sliding door towards the balcony. After some struggle, he seems to manage to cast off something while swinging his boar tooth before prancing on the perimeter of our room, uttering spell, leaving the three of us dumbfounded in the middle of the room, too scared to move an inch. When he was done, he turned towards us, all prepared to unleash what was going on.
When we arrived in the room and I opened the cabinet, I was taken aback to see a spirit of an old lady donning in traditional kimono. Instinctively, I needed to get rid of her from our room, which she did without much resistance. That was when I noticed the white aura surrounding her, which made me realize that she was of friendly nature, perhaps a guardian spirit. It also made sense that her absence brought about some disturbance to the room. As we were preparing to sleep, I could sense a pair of black hands emerging from the sliding door. I knew there and then that this was not of friendly nature, therefore blocked its entrance. After the hands receded, I could see a pair of dark shadows looming at the balcony, with simmering fury from how I had spoiled a plan to enter to accomplish what they set out to do. When I set a perimeter protection, I could still see them trying to test their luck, but I don't know how long I could hold them.
After saying that, Shan said he had a strong urge for a smoke and beckoned my brother to join him at the smoking room in the lobby. When he returned, Shan's mood had an upswing.
"Oh, Granny's back. She's now wandering around all corners of the room, and her actions are so adorable. I think she has successfully walked off those dark shadows.
I felt relief upon that revelation, and all this sounded like a classic Japanese yokai known as Zashiki Warashi, although it's usually a child apparition instead of an old granny. Regardless, it seems to indicate good luck to us for this trip. The next day, the four of us overslept and had abandoned our morning plan, so we went straight to the Fushimi Inari Shrine. Welcoming us was the majestic orange-red shrine, followed by the hundreds of torii gates forming the memorable pathway. Shan stood at the entrance. We thought he was marveling at the sight, but we all knew he saw something else. This was what he told us.
The white fox of the Inari-sama stood stoutly on the rooftop, overlooking the land and beyond.
To be truthful, Fushimi Inari Taisha felt like a mystical place out of this world, and along the torii path, Shan would occasionally addressing some interesting sights, like how smaller foxes were seen scampering among the torii gates. After the walk through the Sanbon torii, I guided the troop down a less trodden path back to the main gate of the shrine. As we walked past a few Instagrammable trees with stunning maple leaves, we hung around and went crazy with photo taking. Just then, Shan looked past us towards the dense forest at the other side of the path. It was close to sunset and it was truly eerie, but what Shan said just took the cake.
Guys, let's hustle out of here. Do not look at the forest over there. Every tree seems to have a vengeful soul hanging off the branches. There were also ghosts that seemed to stick out their heads behind the tree trunks, looking towards our direction.
Hearing that, we responded by sprinting our way down. Well, also with the intention to raid the omamori from the shrine store before it closed for the day. Our next port of call was Kiyomizu-dera to look at the night illumination of autumn leaves. I had read online that it was better to come after 7 PM when the crowd lessened. As we arrived and made the slow climb up Sannenzaka to the temple, Shan made another gasp and said,
Wow, it sure is crowded here.
"Yeah, it always is, but for now people are climbing down instead of moving up like us," I responded.
Oh, I'm not talking about human beings. I'm talking about the massive crowd of ghosts making their way up and down the slope.
I am starting to get used to Shan's frequency at this point, and not entirely surprised with the words uttered from his mouth. When we arrived at the main stage of the temple, I cheekily inquired if there is any Buddha or God in the temple.
God? No. Ghosts? Plenty.
I started to remember the jumping off the stage tradition of the Edo period. Seems like the souls of the parish still residing at this famous location. On the third day of our trip, we started at the Toei Uzumasa Eiga-mura. It was a studio park for visitors to immerse in the locality where many Showa-era movies had been filmed. We bought an entrance ticket which encompassed experiencing ninjutsu from the actors there, as well as a walk in the haunted house. Despite knowing that it was all mock-up, you might still feel squeamish when you meandered through the confined space from the entrance to the exit. Maybe Shan, who had seen the real deal, might treat such experience as a waste of time, yet he was game enough to lead us through it, with my little brother at the rear. Not before long, my brother could be heard shouting as he hurled himself towards me, who was the person just in front of him. I took a quick glance back before he hurled onto me to see an actor in all black garb with face all painted white, demonstrating his best haunting performance chasing after my brother. Like domino tiles, the four of us fell onto one another before we dropped on the floor like pins in a bowling alley, luckily without any visible bruises or internal injury. An actor of the haunted house immediately approached us to check on us. She was in the midst of putting on her makeup before apologetically ushered us to the exit. Under the bright sunlight, we started to giggle at our folly of falling in a haunted house. Even Shan also found it funny. However, Roy, who had been communicating with the staff on our way out of the haunted house, sternly told us the following.
The staff said there was no scare actor positioned at that very location. Even if there was one, none was tasked to wear all black, as it would be hard to be spotted by patrons under the low visibility conditions. And it was of no law for actors to chase after patrons. So guys, who was that who was chasing after us?
As Roy and Shan did not see the scare actor, they were taking our words. So, did we really encounter a real ghost in there? As Toei Studio Park was within the vicinity of Arashiyama, that was naturally the next place we visited. Surprisingly, Shan had a pleasant time in Arashiyama. He had not been halted like something had caught his attention during the whole time we were, unlike the rest of the trip. As we settled for a quick bite before going to admire more autumn foliage, at Ho-Gon Inn, near the main Arashiyama train station, Shan told us that Arashiyama is perhaps the cleanest place in our trip. We all knew what he meant by clean at this point. Ho-Gon Inn certainly was the place to go if you wanted to take exquisite photographs of night autumn foliage. Combined with the illumination, the entire place, especially the Lion's Roar Garden, was a sight to behold. After being satisfied with the scenery, we decided to stroll back to the station, which was no more than 5 minutes away, and we should know the route back. That was not the case, as we made a wrong turn and came into this dark path beside this small bamboo grove. Just at this moment, Shan, who was walking behind the three of us, scurried in front of us and assumed a weird stance before forcefully beckoned us.
Guys, run away from this path in the other direction.
Looking at his stern expression, we all knew then that he was not pulling a fast one on us, so we followed his instruction and ran as fast as we could. Somehow, Roy was starting to lose consciousness, and we brothers had to support him all the way to the train station, where we tried to catch our breath and wait to regroup with Shan. At this point, Roy was draping over a bench like he had been knocked out. Luckily, he was still breathing. In no time, Shan ran towards us. His jacket and shirt were thoroughly drenched in his perspiration, and he was trying to recover as much as he could before telling us what had happened at the bamboo grove.
Guys, that was the scariest encounter I had in the whole trip. Perhaps one of the scariest face-off I had with a demon ever. Just as we made the wrong turn, I started to notice commotion from the bamboo grove. Out came a serpent demon, standing at 2 stories tall. It was starting to assume the body of a human and was dressed in kimono. It was nothing like a Nure Onna, which was a snake with a human head. This snake demon had crimson glowing eyes and unleashed fangs that still haunt me as I am reconnecting. I could see that in quick action, the demon locked onto Roy, who was nearest to the grove, and started to suckle on his soul. It happened so fast that none of you even noticed anything wrong with Roy then. Instinctively, I took out my blessed amulet and tried to ward off the snake demon. I even unleashed the chant that would exterminate any entities from experience, but to no avail. The snake demon just stared at me menacingly. Its tongue protruding almost came into contact with my face before unleashing a loud hiss and turned away from me, like scoffing at my incompetence. It was then I understood why Arashiyama and the surrounding area is so clean. As the snake demon retreated back to the bamboo grove, I could see that the demon swiftly caught a wandering spirit and consuming it.
As absurd as it sounded, I was inclined to believe what Shan had said. And looking at how Roy was all sapped out of energy, the dots seemed to connect. Fortunately, the remainder of the trip in Kyoto was not as eventful, and despite the smattering of strange and creepy incidents, we had a lot of fun immersing in the culture and enjoying the food and stupendous services from the local people. When we returned to Taiwan, we got to know that Shan started to develop some weird reptilian scales on his arm, and pain was decimating our friend. Although the snake demon spared his life, it left a mark on Shan as a punishment for foiling its plan. Luckily, under the tedious rituals carried out by his mother and the elder witch doctors in the neighboring villages, the scaly scout managed to disappear, and Shan was back into his pink of health soon. This is a story that people who grew up from our village will know and keep the secrets into our graves. There was, and could still be around, a house in our village, not far from my own house, which everyone called Pandora. There was nothing too different from other houses, except it was unoccupied for as long as anyone could remember, and the strange architecture was that there was no visible entrance into the house itself. Naturally, this mysterious abode became a subject to delve into among the kids for generations, and the simmering curiosity would always be stifled by the stern telling off from the elders in the village. To some extent, Some parents or grandparents would even display corporal punishment if children showed any remote interest with the house or the backstory. As there was no military-level security system guarding the house, some pesky kids would eventually quell their curiosity and open this Pandora box. Little did I knew I was one of those culpable to open it. Kenji was a transfer student to my class in my first year of junior high school. His mother was originally from our village, but left to study, work, and eventually married in another prefecture, and had never brought Kenji back to this village until her recent divorce from Kenji's father. So now, the mother and son would live with his maternal grandmother in their old village home. Seemingly, Kenji's mother was tight-lipped about Pandora, which piqued the interest of her inquisitive son when he started to see the house for himself and heard the rumors been spreading about it. Kenji was naturally charismatic and had the ability to sell his idea and convince others to join him to open that Pandora box. I was very hesitant at first, knowing that my parents would not spare the rod if they found out that we were venturing into the forbidden. But my buddies Matsu and Jiro were so bought over by the idea from Kenji, and even Keiko, the only girl in our group, also felt a compulsion for the exploration. So, the date was set for that Sunday afternoon for the 5 of us, as well as Keiko's younger sister Iko, to unravel the greatest mystery shrouding in our lives since the day we were born. As we were in the dark of the impending danger, the likes of Kenji and Matsu brought snacks in their backpack as if we were going camping. Approaching Pandora, there was an air of stillness, and the place was void of any sound, even insect sound, which was our everyday soundtrack. The whole gang of us started looking for a way into the house, but it was no mean feat. Just then, a loud shattering of glass broke the stillness of the air, and everyone ran towards the source of the ruckus. It was Kenji with a rock, smashing an algae-covered glass panel at the rear of the house.
Don't look so surprised, guys. Just a window pane. Even if needed to pay, would not be that bad.
Kenji said with a smug expression, while cautiously removing all the remaining shard of glass and slowly crept into the house. The rest of the gang followed Kenji into the house with special precautions taken not to be cut by the glass. The interior of the ground floor of Pandora was dark and the air was equally still. An unfurnished living room followed by the kitchen along the wooden walkway, with the bathroom and ultimately the toilet at the very end. On the right hand side of the toilet, you could see a wooden stairwell leading up to the second floor. The front door of the house had been cemented from the inside, and it blocked any sunlight, therefore painting the interior with a chilly, eerie darkness.
Oh, that's it?
Kenji said in a nonplussed manner.
I thought we were going to see some scary crime scene or something.
After that, he just slumped onto the tatami flooring of the living room and dug into his snacks, and was joined by Matsu and Jiro. Hey guys, I wanted to go explore second floor, I announced to the rest.
Let's join you.
Keiko responded as she beckoned Iko. As we walked along the dark walkway, something caught our attention that nearly gave me a cardiac arrest. Between the kitchen and the bathroom was a small space with tatami flooring, and on it placed a stand with a long black wig, facing a mirror and a small wooden dressing table. From my peripheral vision, it looked like a female ghost looking at herself in the mirror. I let out a reactionary gasp, which drew the attention of the 3 snacking lads.
Now we are in business,
proclaimed Kenji. I suppose he wanted to move forward to investigate, or more like instigate. Somehow, he got spooked out and told us.
I think let's go.
Kenji had a change of mind, to our surprise. The rest of us also felt it was too creepy and wanted to go, except the youngest in the brood, Iko, who kept insisting that she wanted to feel if the wig was made of real hair. Luckily, Matsu and myself reacted fast enough to stop her. As Keiko sternly told off her sibling, we made our way to the broken gap we came in from. Just as all of us was climbing through the shattered panel, Keiko exclaimed,
Where's Iko?
Indeed, her sister was nowhere to be seen. The whole gang returned to the house and skimmed through the space within, which without any furniture, there was nowhere she could hide. We could have swear that we did not hear her scampering inside the hollow space that would surely have an audible echo.
Could she have gone up the second floor?
Keiko pondered. Unwillingly, all 5 of us made haste up the second floor, where we could see multiple rooms with the traditional sliding door. We did not see Iko in the first room after the stairwell. Then, we slowly slid open the door to the next room and were relieved to find a girl inside. The relief immediately turned to chills, as we could see the same setup of the mirror, dress table, and the wig as seen in the first floor. Before we could usher Iko out of there, the curious young girl had to slide open the uppermost drawer of the table and took out the content before asking.
Hey Chan, what's this?
It was a piece of neatly folded writing paper with the characters Kindo written in nicely calligraphed manner on it. Keiko was too shaken to respond. This was when Iko proceeded to open the next drawer, similarly a folded paper with the same characters written on it.
叫咩路一個？
Shouted the elder sister, before snatching the piece of paper and wanting to put the content back to where it belonged. In a twist of fate, Keiko opened the bottommost drawer instead, and as she glanced into the content, she became stiff and emotionless, like she had been stunned by something.
Keiko, what's wrong with you?
Jiro asked, and the rest of us wanted to shake her out of that state. Even Iko was starting to panic. The situation turned for the worse, as Keiko then grabbed her own hair and started gorging and sucking the hair into her mouth. Her eyes now rolled near the upper eyelid, and she was deep in a trance. Surprisingly, she was not choking on her own hair, but was reverberating a scary sound which was hard to recreate. We were all in a mess, but knew we needed to get out of Pandora, so Kenji, being the calmest of the lot, instructed the three of us to carry Keiko with all our might, while he grabbed hold of Iko out of there. As mentioned, my house was the closest to Pandora, so we felt we needed to seek help there. Oto-san, tasukete kudasai! I shouted at the top of my lung. My father saw Keiko in that state and started to build a fit of fury. Bakayaro! You guys went to Pandora, didn't you? I had never seen my father snap like this ever, which highlighted the seriousness of this matter. My mother then quickly bring Keiko to their room upstairs, as father instructed the rest to call their parents to come over. In no time, the parents arrived, and none of us was spared a telling off, as the triggered parents also discussed among themselves what to do. Matsu's father was always known to be forefront and the most stern among the parents, so interrogation from him was forthcoming.
So, what really happened inside the house? What do you guys saw?
Matsu naturally receded in the background, but Kenji, who instigated this unfortunate chain of events, tried his best to reply to Matsu Sr.
We broke into the house by breaking a glass pane.
He said sheepishly.
The house was empty. Nothing could be seen, except for the scary dressing table and the wig. We swear we didn't take anything from the house.
Matsu's father followed up in his intimidating tone.
Did you guys touch these items? Did you open any drawer and see anything inside?
Iko opened the drawers, and we saw the paper with the words Kindle. Keiko opened the bottommost drawer, and she was the only person who saw the content inside. That was when she became like this.
Just then, everyone in the living room could hear a loud cry emanating from the second floor, and by the time we got to the source, everyone could see Keiko's mother devastated with her daughter's condition. She then charged towards me and shook me vociferously, kept repeating,
Why didn't you guys stop her?
Her husband promptly retracted her from breaking my feeble body into two, and eventually with the other mothers, managed to calm her down. As we did not see Keiko from that point onwards, we boys were led to Jiro's house, where his father would tell us the backstory of Pandora and why we were forbidden to go there.
The house had been vacant since your parents and myself were kids. As you can see, the owner of the house had purposely sealed the front door to ensure that no one was to enter the house. There was a reason not to tear the house down as well. The items inside the house belonged to the past owners and were never meant to show to anyone. The outcome of not following these rules can be clearly see what had happened to Keiko. So please take what you have experienced by heart. Let this be a lesson to all, including other kids in the future, to not tempt fate.
Jiro then asked his father what would happen to Keiko.
We are not certain, but it seems like it would be a tough time for her and family to bring her back to normal.
The four of us stayed over Jiro's place for that night, as we contemplated on the tragedy that transpired on this fateful day. From that day onwards, our parents went on with their lives like nothing had happened. Keiko did not come to school after that day, and eventually we were informed that her family had moved away from the village. Surely curiosity was bubbling of that day events and rumors were spreading, but time eventually eroded all this, and for myself, Matsu, Jiro, and Kenji, we slowly distanced from one another. By the time we progressed to senior high school and eventually college, we all went on our separate ways, and our childhood memories in the village and Pandora were on the back of our minds. A decade followed, and one day, we received a letter from Keiko's mother. My mother was the only one who read the content, but immediately torn the letter after doing so. I kept asking her to tell me what was written, but she was staunch in her stance not to reveal. She just said the following.
We mothers would do anything for the well-being and safety of our children. Even we knew it was wrong of you guys to do what you had done, we will never not protect you, even in the most extreme manner.
Of course, I could not decipher what she was meaning to tell me. Still, the appearance of this letter piqued my interest and led me to source from library archives or through internet for the real story behind Pandora. My discovery unexpectedly shook me to my core. In my research, there was this family of Miko originated from the region around my village, who were black magic practitioners and specialized in casting curses. However, the omnipotent Miko had to be cultivated in a very torrid and visceral manner. It passed down the generations from mother to daughter. Among the daughters, the mother would choose one with the criteria to be the Miko. The daughter would have to grow up with a given name, as well as a birth name which only the mother would know. The daughter will have to learn to mutilate small animals like dogs and cats and use the body parts to cast spells with. There will be a seed of virality sown within the Miko since young. Then there was the dress table as seen in Pandora, with 3 drawers to be opened on the 10th, 13th, and 16th birthday of the Miko in training. On the 10th birthday, the mother would instruct the young Miko to extract her fingernails. At this point, she will be impervious to pain and do as the mother instructed. Together with the real name of the young Miko, the fingernails will be kept in the first drawer. On the 13th birthday, the young Miko will be instructed to remove a certain number of her teeth, and similarly kept with her birth name in the second drawer. The completion of the training will be on the day of the 16th birthday, when the mother would reveal the real name of the young Miko before shaving the long locks of her daughter and swallow all of the follicles. As the Miko had completed her training, it also spelled the demise of the mother, as she will be in a trance state, relentlessly swallowing her own hair after that day. The Miko would now possess the power to curse on men and give birth to more children, with a chosen daughter to impart this cursed fate. This inhumane practice would eventually meet its end with a Miko by the name of Hachiyo. Hachiyo had a daughter called Takako, who she was grooming as instructed. On the 10th birthday of Takako, Hachiyo happened to travel to her parents' house, but upon returning, she had a ghastly discovery of Takako being killed. Her fingernails and teeth have been extracted and her hair been shaved. The paper with the birth name had been seen laid beside Takako's corpse, while her husband could not be found. The devastated Hachiyo held the body of her departed daughter and howled in the most sorrowful manner, which naturally attracted the attention of the neighbors. They instinctively went to look for her parents for aid. When Hachiyo's parents arrived, tragedy befell as Hachiyo was found dead beside Takako and thus ended the lineage of this Miko family. Her parents told the neighbors there was no need to seek out the husband, and they were right, as he returned on his own accord days later, kneeling at the entrance of the house with chunk of hair stuck in his mouth before he passed on. On further investigation, it seems like the husband was a descendant of one of the cursed men from the storied past of the Miko family, coming back for revenge. After the tragic death of Hachiyo and Takako, the parents sealed up the house and warned the villagers not to barge into the sealed house. And knowing how scary this Miko family was, the villagers abide to the instructions and pass it down to their own descendants. We had been chastised for entering Pandora by our parents, but little did we know that our parents had ventured into it many years ago when they were around our age. My own mother, Keiko's mother, Kenji's mother, as well as Jiro's father actually trespassed the premise via climbing through the window on the second floor. Back then, they saw the dress table and the creepy wig inside the second room. Keiko's mother was impulsive as a young girl and wanted to open the drawers when they were told umpteen times since young the curse and the scary story surrounding Pandora. Fortunately, her 3 companions were able to stop her in her track. They weren't so lucky the second time round when Keiko's mother was the first down the staircase and spotted the same dressing table at the first floor. This time, she was fast enough to open the first drawer and took out a paper with the words Shiko followed by a smattering of human fingernails. Just as Kenji's mother was shocked that her friend went ahead to do the forbidden, she wanted to put the content back into the original place, and at that instant, Keiko's mother opened the third drawer and Kenji's mother happened to be the person to see the content. What happened to Keiko had happened on Kenji's mother, and the other three friends immediately bring her out of the place like what we did. No one actually saw Kenji's mother after that. Annie's grandparents also did not say if their daughter had managed to resolve the curse. All I could remember was that none of us really saw Kenji's mother in person when they came back to live in the village. It must be surely coincidental that Kenji was adamant to explore Pandora, and by sheer fate that it was Keiko who saw the content in the third drawer. Just for explanation, the dress table on the second floor belongs to Takako, whose birth name was Kindo. There was no fingernails nor teeth when the kids opened the drawer because she passed on before the whole procession. The dress table on the first floor belongs to the mother Hachiyo, whose birth name was Shiko. Hope that clarifies things. Beside the moral story of curiosity kills the cat, the parallel subplots of revenge was very prominent, isn't it? And finally, to resolve the curse, you just simply do not grow your hair long. I don't know what you would be swallowing if that was the case. Hope you enjoyed the stories, and please click a like and share this video and let me know if you want more of such scary tales to be narrated. Please subscribe to Lights Out Ghost Stories for more of such videos from us. Good night, dear family. Don't let your curiosity get the better of you.